Hey guys, Anarchist Insight here. So, today I have a couple of questions for atheists.
Golly, I sure do hope one of those questions is, how do I record audio without so much background noise? Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. I actually love Questions for Atheists videos. It feels less like I'm giving a lecture and more like I'm interacting, if not in real time. Actually, real time sucks because I don't have a chance to look things up, make sure I've got my facts straight. Doing it all from memory can easily lead to mistakes, which people then try to hold you to for the rest of your life. Clarification be damned. Oh, and I went and fixed his audio. Why? 2 reasons. A, I'm fucking awesome at this video making stuff. My own audio is crap until I run it through a few noise filters. And 2, because that shit is fucking annoying. I didn't do it for him, I did it for us. Oh, and one other thing. Dude, I know you're not showing your face or anything else, but it's obvious what you recorded this with. So let me give you a bit of free advice. You takes your phone, you turns it like this. Now it's widescreen, like it should be. Take it from a film school dropout. Vertical video is verboten, verily. Now, on to the questions.
Question 1. Do moral absolutes exist?
No.
Question 2. If your answer to question 1 was yes.
It wasn't.
If your answer to question 1 was no. Well, are you absolutely sure that there exists no moral absolutes? How can you be absolutely sure?
Because of what morality is, because of its very nature. Morality isn't a set of rules that exist outside of us. They're an emotional product of our brains. Morality exists as a tool for survival and prosperity, a form of self-preservation. We have it because it helps the species continue to exist and grow. Natural selection has helped breed out those whose instincts were not conducive to survival, and it's only because we've grown more self-aware and civilized that we don't go killing those who are amoral or immoral, instead locking them up, either in jail or institutions. But as I say, they're a product of our brains. If we were all destroyed somehow, morality, or at least our morality, not those of other species, would stop existing. The fact is that every individual carries around their own unique set of morals in their own head. Even if there's a ton of overlap, there will always be quirks and differences. Even if a god exists to impose morality upon us, those moralities are a product of that god's mind, that god's emotions. If that deity stopped existing, so too would his, her, its, or their morals. Morals cannot be absolute because without a mind to maintain them, they cannot exist. And if you think they can, explain how.
Why can't I just shoot a baby kitten in the face, point blank? Why can't I just drown a baby by throwing it overboard into a raging river? Why can't I just blow up a bank with innocent civilians inside?
Why can't you? What's actually stopping you? Can you give me any reason why you wouldn't do those things that doesn't boil down to emotion, be it empathy or fear of reprisal? Can you give me any reason to not commit those acts which would still exist even if you did not? Rules external to yourself or any other being, living or divine. Rules which exist as an inherent part of the universe. Can you show me the existence of that rule book?
Why would I have to face ramifications afterwards?
Have to? There is no have to. If nobody ever noticed your actions, you wouldn't face any ramifications, any consequences, unless you administered them to yourself.
Why would I have to face justice afterwards for my actions, which were clearly immoral?
Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Clearly immoral? What makes it clearly immoral? Can you give me any reason to call it immoral other than that you don't like it? I mean, I don't much care for shooting kittens in the face. I love cats. But what if there's someone out there who thinks it's just about the best thing ever? What if to them, shooting kittens in the face is clearly no big deal? Tell me how we determine who is moral and who is not. I know my position, and I know why I hold it, but I also know that I cannot justify it in any way more than saying, that's how I feel about it, and I'm going to enforce how I feel. Can you?
Let me read you something interesting from the book of Romans.
Thanks, but no thanks. You don't get to use the Bible as evidence of anything until you prove God exists. Until you manage that, the Bible, and every other holy book, is just an unsubstantiated claim.
And in the book of Psalms, excuse me for not knowing the precise chapter and verses here, but it states, "Only the fool has said in his heart that there is no God."
Well, that's a great way to win over converts. Believe in God or you're an idiot. Well, what if we said that about something else? The fool has said in his heart there is no Sasquatch. Oh dear, guess I'd better go join that Bigfoot Facebook group, huh? What better place is there from which to derive my morals than from a big hairy ape man that no one can prove exists? And I'm stupid if I don't, so clearly I must believe in him. Yeah, right, that's gonna happen. Your religion salesmen really need to take a class in advertising. They're not very good at this.
When whole societies are dependent upon laws that are derived from moral absolute standards,
which they're not. I can name tons of laws which have nothing at all to do with any kind of absolute standard, just people being massive worrywarts, stick-in-the-mud Puritans, or just plain bigoted assholes. And you're taking it for granted that there are absolute standards from which these laws are derived, which you haven't managed to show. The existence of absolute standards, standards which cannot be disputed in any way, which are not subject to opinion or perspective, has yet to be proved, so you cannot declare that laws are derived from them. Not yet.
You would think that there's something to it, right? Like, these aren't just concepts we as human beings randomly decided to create one day.
Which has nothing at all to do with whether or not they're absolute. Maybe we don't mean the same thing when we use that word. More and more, it sounds like you're trying to say inherent rather than inarguable. If you want to say that morals are inherent, I agree, but they're inherent to the individual and not the universe itself. And I agree that humans didn't just come up with them on their own one day, but that doesn't mean they were given to us by a god either, written on our hearts or whatever.
When moral laws are foundational, as I just said, to whole societies, all across the world, well, it just kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Not really, no. Given how many societies are absolutely horrified at the laws and morals held by other societies, it sure does seem as though morals aren't quite so absolute as you would have us believe. And since, as I said before, morality got its start as an aid to survival, it makes sense that there would be some overlap. But the more various cultures stayed apart, the more their morals started to drift apart as well, both in secular and spiritual contexts. Don't kill other people may sound like an absolute moral value, but look how differently that's applied across the globe. From honor killings to duels to executions to war to ritual sacrifice, humans are going around slaughtering the crap out of each other. Clearly, thou shalt not kill has at least a tiny bit of leeway and isn't all that absolute.
The importance of these things is showcased everywhere.
Importance and absolute are not synonyms.
Like earlier when I gave you the examples, why can't I just shoot a kitten in the face or kill a baby? An atheist might tell me that that is immoral, right? Those acts are immoral and I deserve to be punished for them, right? Justice ought to be served. Well, why does justice ought to be served? Why should it be served? Why should I face any kind of ramifications for my actions whatsoever?
Because if you don't, your next target might be me, or might be someone I care about, and I don't want that. And if you're allowed to do those things, so am I, and you might not want that. Like I said, morality is an aid to survival, a kind of mutual self-interest based on empathy. No God required, and certainly not an absolute, just a rather more nuanced and complicated version of saying, ow, that hurts, quit it.
This is where a lot of atheistic philosophy will come into conflict with creationists in our worldviews, because we know for certain that Our sense of morality comes from God's law, and that God's law was written in our hearts from birth onward.
You might be certain, but you don't know for certain, because if you did, you could prove it, and you can't. Religion still demands we have faith instead of providing evidence, and that includes morality along with the existence of God. And religious faith is no different than playing pretend, except for how seriously it gets taken. Your confidence is not knowledge.
So we have a standard by which we can measure the morality or lack thereof of somebody else. I mean, atheists don't really have that, do they? They don't really have that standard to fall back on, because according to them, and this is some of them, since there exist no moral absolutes, it's fair game. I mean, anybody can do anything at that point. Any kind of irreprehensible behavior would be simply accepted and tolerated, and in some cases encouraged.
No, atheists don't have moral absolutes, but that doesn't mean there isn't still a standard. Yes, it's fuzzy. Yes, there's a lot of leeway, but there's still that overlap that keeps us from complete chaos. Remember, ow, that hurts. Quit it. That's the basis right there. If you cannot see how that's a pretty solid start from which to build a moral code, I don't know what else I can tell you. And this ludicrous notion that because we don't have absolute values, we'll just tolerate anything, that's just pure religious bullshit that seems to have pervaded theist minds and cannot be dislodged no matter how many times it's been debunked. It's like they have to believe that's the way atheists would behave, because otherwise it weakens their idea that morality needs absolutes.
So, I'm looking forward to hearing the answers that hopefully will be provided to me in the comments below, or if you would like to make a response video, that would also be appreciated.
Well, just remember, you asked for it. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. A thumbs up for this video is a vote for excellence and glory. Subscribe to BionicDance and make the internet great again.